I shot my wife and her mom and her stepdad. Cold-blooded murder.
Crime into focus now. Court documents show a family argument is what led to a triple murder in Stratford over the weekend. 50-year-old Jesse Huy has confessed to shooting and killing his wife Tanya, her mother 78-year-old Linda Kaler, and her stepfather 71-year-old Ronald.
So I just saw this story on TikTok. They have the actual interview. It's broken into 5 parts. I'll link down below like where I saw. But it was on TikTok. This guy, 50-year-old Missouri man, his wife gets back surgery. His in-laws are coming to stay, I guess, to help out with her recovery. He doesn't get along with the in-laws, like most of us. I mean, sometimes that happens. His dad lives with them. His dad lives upstairs. So that becomes an important part of the story later. The in-laws are coming over. He doesn't like them. He tells his wife he's not happy about it, but he's going to put up with it. So when the in-laws, oh, my cat wants to come hear the story. No. So the in-laws, I guess in his mind, they're already disrespectful. I guess when they came over before, they kind of come in and out like they live there. So that's one of the stipulations that he gave his wife. He's like, man, I don't want them coming in over here again, acting like they just own this house. Like they have to knock on the door. Like, I don't want them invading my privacy. And she's like, yeah, whatever, kind of ignores him. And the guy's like, all right. Now keep in mind, this guy, he's a serious dude. He's a combat veteran. He has PTSD. Like, even the people that know him say, like, when he tells you he's going to do something, he does it. Like, he's a man of his word. So he already warns her. He's like, I'm not putting up with any shit. So when they come over, they're coming in and out of his house, disrespecting him, just like he asked the wife. He doesn't want these motherfuckers coming in and out of his house like this. And then not only that, they're coming in, they're like sitting in his favorite chair. And he had enough of it. He goes and talks to his wife a few times, and he's like, yeah, I can't take this, man. They got to go. And she's like, nah. They're kind of ignoring him. So I guess a week goes by of this, and he's talking to his dad upstairs, and he hears the mom and the dad once again come over, and they're downstairs carrying on. And he's like, all right, Dad, I'm going down there. I had enough of this shit. So he goes downstairs. The wife and her parents are sitting at the table. He goes and talks to his wife, Tanya, and he's like, Tanya, they got to go, man. Ask them to leave. And then he looks at the parents and he's like, hey, I'm going to need y'all to leave. Looks at the wife, Tanya, and Tanya says, they're not going anywhere. And he's like, oh, okay. I already told her it wasn't going to be good, is what he says in the interview. So he goes out to his shed, grabs a pistol, comes back in, and shoots Ron first. Ron's a stepdad because Ron's sitting in his chair. Shoots Ron in the head. Shoots, Linda. Shoots Linda, the mom, in the head. And then shoots his wife in the head. And then he shoots them all again to make sure they're dead. So just a case of a man just had enough and snapped. And then he calls the police on himself. As you can hear, he knows he's going to prison. He couldn't take it anymore.
I shot my wife and her mom and her stepdad. Cold-blooded murder this afternoon.
Okay.
Shot them each twice in the head.
Okay. Well, that's about as straightforward as it gets. I'll go ahead and ask you, why'd you do that, Jesse?
I lost my temper.
Sure.
I feel like the cop does a really good job of not judging this guy. He's just like, sure. Yeah, we all lose our temper sometimes, buddy. Like, this dude is clearly a psychopath. It's either that or he just really had enough, man. I don't know. You be the judge.
I looked around the house and it kind of looked to me like Linda may have picked up her stuff. Like maybe she got the hint and left.
Right. Okay.
And I was actually upstairs talking to my dad about the whole situation.
And
anyway, while I was up there, I see him roll in. And, I went down there and I walked in and they're all sitting there in the kitchen.
And this is downstairs.
Downstairs. I walked in and I said, Ron and Linda, you need to leave. And my wife said, they're not going anywhere. I'm half owner of this place. They stay here as long as they want to.
Mm-hmm.
So I went outside, I got my gun, I walked back in, I shot them all in the head. Then I shot them all in the head again to make sure they were down.
He shot them again to make sure that they were down. So, I mean, that's going to rule against him. And it ended up actually, he got convicted 3 consecutive life sentences. So he's never getting out. And he knew it, man. He could tell. He knew. He just, you know. And he looks a lot older than 50. Actually, he's a big ass dude, man. This guy's like, I'll put the stats of how big this guy is. Like, this is a guy you don't want to mess with. Definitely looks like a dude that would just snap your neck.
I walked back in, I shot them all in the head. Then I shot them all in the head again to make sure they were down.
Okay. So where was Ron at when you shot him?
Sitting in my chair at the table.
Sitting in your chair at the table.
And, you know, when I told them they needed to leave, you know, they didn't make a move to get up. They looked at her and decided they were staying.
They just ignored you.
And that's when I decided, all right then, because, you know, I warned her earlier in the week, and I told her I was very unhappy about this, and I said, you know, you're going to make me go off. Mm-hmm. And if you do, this is on you.
Yeah.
And this is what she got for it. She made me go off, and now there's 3 fucking dead people. It was over and under a minute. Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't start off with a handgun. Mm-hmm. That's where it ended up.
Yeah. Who was the first one of the 3 that you shot?
Ron.
You shot Ron. He was in your chair. Did he see you coming, or
yeah?
What did
he started? He started to turn. First, he looked at her, and he started to turn his head to me. And by then, I got him. And Linda was all fucking surprised that I just shot Ron, and I shot her in the fucking head.
Did either one?
And then I turned and I shot her in the head.
Yeah.
You know, I warned him. I fucking told him. I guess she decided to call my bluff. So here we are.
Did any of them get anything out verbally?
No, nothing more than a little bit of a squeal. Like I said, it was all over real quick.
So they didn't have time to even say anything.
I shot them all 3 in the head, and then I shot him in the head again because I thought I seen him twitch, and I heard her gurgle. I heard Linda gurgle a little bit, so I went and put another one into her, and then I come back around to where Tanya was sitting, and I
That's right, Heather. Thank you. That audio, along with the probable cause statement released today, says Huy was angry that his in-laws had overstayed their welcome after coming from Louisiana to visit their daughter.
4486 North Farm Road 249. The caller is saying that he's killed his family.
A 911 call placed by Jesse Huy minutes after he allegedly shot his wife and her parents in the basement of a mobile home in Stratford show Huy was waiting, unarmed, for deputies to arrive.
He says that he's left the gun unloaded and the clip will be on the tailgate of a vehicle. The subject that we spoke to says he shot them and saying that he's positive they're dead, and he is not checking on them otherwise. Medical is staging in the area. They're saying he's currently in the roadway.
During Huy's confession, he described the crime as cold-blooded murder, telling deputies his in-laws had come to visit but wouldn't leave, so he got tired of it and killed all 3 of them. Feeling intruded on and disrespected, Huy told deputies he lost his temper. After a short argument, Huy says he grabbed a gun and shot them twice to make sure they were down. Huy's father was upstairs in a mobile home at the time.
He says his father is still on scene upstairs and unharmed. Additional caller did say that her stepfather that's on scene did hear shots fired.
The probable cause statement says Huy requested he be put in a jail cell by himself, saying, "Now that I've murdered 3 people, I've got nothing holding me back." Huy has been charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of armed criminal action. He's now being held without bond.
This is just one of those stories that, you know, you never know what somebody is going through. The man next to you could be right about to snap, man. You got to watch how, like, disrespect will get you killed sometimes, man. These people should have fucking, I mean, my own experience with my own mother-in-law. So a few years ago, I don't know how many people would have handled this. I don't know how this really relates to the story other than the fact that I was disrespected pretty severely by my mother-in-law. So here's the story. My wife had a tummy tuck surgery after our 3rd baby. And my daughter was, I think, a year old. Year and a half. She was still in a crib. My wife gives me a long list of groceries to go get. I go out. It's probably like 8, 9 o'clock at night. I go to the grocery store. My 2 boys are at my parents' house spending the night. So it's just my wife and the baby. I'm out for like, I don't know, maybe an hour. I can't find all the stuff on her list, so I'm going to like multiple grocery stores. In the process, my phone was already about to die when I left. My phone dies. I'm like, shit. I'll be back home soon anyway. So I'm maybe gone for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours looking for all her stuff. She's trying to contact me. She calls like everybody we know. She can't get a hold of me. She's freaking out because the baby's crying, and because her stomach is cut, she cannot pick up the baby. So she eventually calls her mom, and she's like, yeah, I don't know where he's at. And then her mom's like, oh, right away, her mom thinks I'm out cheating. Not like I've ever done this before. I've never gone out and had my phone die ever. This is the first time that's ever happened. I never go out and hang out at like bars or anything. I'm always home with the kids. I'm always doing everything with my family. But her first thought is to fucking go and try to catch me cheating. So she comes to stay with us a few weeks later. I didn't know this was like an orchestrated plan, but so she knows that I'm going to work in my wife's car. So I see her out there doing something. I'm like, what is she doing? I didn't pay any mind to it. So I drive to work. I drive over an hour every day to and from work. So I drive to work, and in the middle of the, right when I'm pulling in to work, actually, it wasn't when I was driving. I pulled into work. My wife called me. She said, can you look at my car and see if you can find my AirPods? And I was like, sure. So I'm looking everywhere. I'm looking all over the back seats. And then I look in the door panel where you can store stuff in the door panel. And I find like this little black hockey puck size thing with lights on it. And I pick it up, and immediately my stomach drops. I'm like, what is this? And as I'm looking at it, a buddy of mine pulls into the parking lot next to me. He's like, what are you looking at? I was like, what do you think this is? And he looks at it for a second. And he's like, that looks like a tracking device. And I was like, that's exactly what I thought. Now, in my past, I had something. Immediately, my first thought was police because of my past. I was like, why would police be tracking me? How would they get access inside my vehicle? They would probably put it up underneath with a magnet. So then my next thought is that my wife has a tracker on me. I'm like, why the fuck is my wife? So I go in and I show one of the guys in there. He's not our IT guy, but he's very good with technology. And he's like, that's definitely a tracker. We looked it up online. It was actually a pretty nice tracker. So I called my wife and I'm like, hey, I found this tracking device. I took a picture of it and sent her in our car. You know anything about this? She's like, no. And I'm pretty, I know my wife very well. I could tell she wasn't lying, but I was like, maybe I'm wrong. So I was like, well, what we're going to do is we're going to reverse engineer. We're going to find where the signal's coming from and find if anybody's account is linked to this tracking device, because it's got to be somebody we know that's going to put this on me. And I guess her mother walks in the room while she's talking about this, and she's like, what happened? She's like, oh, we found a tracking device in the car. He's going to reverse engineer and find out where the signal's coming from. And then her mom, my plan worked, freaked out and said, oh, it was me. I was seeing where he was going every day. Apparently she had been tracking me all week. So then I was like, God damn it. I didn't want to go home that night. I'm like, I don't want to fucking deal with this, man, because I'm not really I don't like confrontation. Like, I get angry. It takes me a while, but when I get angry, it's not good. So whenever I get home, she has dinner made for me. It was very awkward. I wasn't even really mad. I was just in shock and disappointed. I was like, why would you fucking do that? But that's disrespectful. Like, why wouldn't you just come and approach me and ask me like what the deal was that night or something? And I would have explained it to you rather than go and try to fucking put a tracker on me and see what I'm doing. She's like, you do go to work every day. You have a very boring life. So bringing it back to the story, imagine if you did some shit like this to this man, Jesse Huy. Like, you just never know what somebody is going through again. And this country, a lot of people are on edge. You see more and more stories like this, like more and more people just zapping out because people have had enough. You know what I mean? It's just the way things are right now. Let me know if you like this type of story. I mean, I thought it was interesting. I always like watching these interviews. I didn't post all the interviews because I didn't want to get a copyright strike. But if you want to go and watch, I will link down below what channel on TikTok you can watch all of the interviews and watch how calmly this man describes what he did to these people. I mean, it's tragic that this happened. Like, it could have been avoided. Obviously, this guy wasn't getting the help that he deserved. And I have another video if you guys want to watch about our mental health system, because my wife suffers from bipolar, and I've seen firsthand what that system is lacking in our country. I mean, the mental health crisis in America is crazy. Everybody's going to therapy now, but I mean, watch the video and you'll get my opinion on that. But thanks for everybody for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.